a constant work in progress, who believe that loving this country requires more than singing its praises or avoiding uncomfortable truths. It requires the occasional disruption, the willingness to speak out for what is right, to shake up the status quo. That's America. That's what makes us unique. That's what cements our reputation as a beacon of opportunity. Young people behind the Iron Curtain would see Selma and eventually tear down that wall. Young people in Soweto would hear Bobby Kennedy talk about ripples of hope and eventually banish the scourge of apartheid. Young people in Burma went to prison rather than submit to military rule. They saw what John Lewis had done. From the streets of Tunis to the Maidan in Ukraine, this generation of young people can draw strength from this place.
In this time,
where the powerless could change the world's greatest power and push their leaders to expand the boundaries of freedom. They saw that idea made real right here in Selma, Alabama. They saw that idea manifest itself here in America. Because of campaigns like this, the Voting Rights Act was passed. Political and economic and social barriers came down. And the change these men and women wrought is visible here today in the presence of African Americans who run boardrooms, who sit on the bench, who serve in elected office from small towns to big cities, from the Congressional Black Caucus all the way to the Oval Office. Because of what they did. The doors of opportunity swung open not just for black folks, but for every American. Women marched through those doors. Latinos marched through those doors. Asian Americans, gay Americans, Americans with disabilities, they all came through those doors. Their endeavors gave the entire South the chance to rise again. Not by reasserting the past, but by transcending the past. What a glorious thing, Dr. King might say. And what a solemn debt we owe. Which leads us to ask, just how might we repay that debt? First and foremost, we have to recognize that one day's commemoration, no matter how special, is not enough. If Selma taught us anything, it's that our work is never done. The American experiment in self-government gives work and purpose to each generation. Selma teaches us as well that action requires that we shed our cynicism. For when it comes to the pursuit of justice, we can afford neither complacency nor despair. You know, just this week I was asked whether I thought the Department of Justice's Ferguson report shows that, with respect to race, little has changed in this country. And I understood the question. The report's narrative was sadly familiar. It evoked the kind of abuse and disregard for citizens that spawned the civil rights movement. But I rejected the notion that nothing's changed. What happened in Ferguson may not be unique, but it's no longer endemic. It's no longer sanctioned by law or by custom. And before the civil rights movement, it most surely was. We do a disservice to the cause of justice by intimating that bias and discrimination are immutable, that racial division is inherent in America. If you think nothing's changed in the past 50 years, ask somebody who lived through the Selma or Chicago or Los Angeles of the 1950s. Ask the female CEO who once might have been assigned to the secretarial pool if nothing's changed. Ask your gay friend if it's easier to be out and proud in America now than it was 30 years ago. To deny this progress, this hard-won progress, our progress, would be to rob us of our own agency, our own capacity, our responsibility to do what we can to make America better. Of course, a more common mistake is to suggest that Ferguson is an isolated incident, that racism is banished, that the work that drew men and women to Selma is now complete, and that whatever racial tensions remain are a consequence of those seeking to play the race card for their own purposes. We don't need a Ferguson report to know that's not true. We just need to open our eyes and our ears and our hearts to know that this nation's racial history still casts its long shadow upon us. We know the march is not yet over. We know the race is not yet won. We know that reaching that blessed destination where we are judged, all of us, by the content of our character requires admitting as much, facing up to the truth. We are capable of bearing a great burden, James Baldwin once wrote. Once we discover that the burden is reality and arrive where reality is, there's nothing America can't handle if we actually look squarely at the problem. And this is work for all Americans, not just some, not just whites, not just blacks. If we want to honor the courage of those who marched that day, then all of us are called to possess their moral imagination. All of us will need to feel as they did the fierce urgency of now. All of us need to recognize as they did that change depends on our action, on our attitudes, the things we teach our children.
This is, look, stress and loneliness.
And if we make such an effort,
I'm taking my can.
no matter how hard it may sometimes seem, laws can be
I love
passed,
you.
Love you too, Mom.
I miss
and
you.
consciences
Yes, you do.
can be
I did
stirred,
give you my address.
and consensus
And I
can be
did give you
built.
my phone number, didn't I?
Yo.
You said you hit me up.
With such an effort, we can make sure our criminal justice system serves all and not just
Love
some.
you too.
Together we can raise the level of mutual trust that policing is built on. The idea that police officers are members of the community they risk their lives to protect. And citizens in Ferguson and New York and Cleveland, they just want the same thing young people here marched for 50 years ago, the protection of the law. Together we can address unfair sentencing and overcrowded prisons and the stunted circumstances that rob too many boys of the chance to become men and rob the nation of too many men who could be good dads and good workers and good neighbors. With effort, we can roll back poverty and the roadblocks to opportunity. You know, Americans don't accept a free ride for anybody. Nor do we believe in equality of outcomes, but we do expect equal opportunity. And if we really mean it, if we're not just giving lip service to it, but if we really mean it and are willing to sacrifice for it, then yes, we can make sure every child gets an education suitable to this new century. One that expands imaginations and lifts sights and gives those children the skills they need. We can make sure every person willing to work has the dignity of a job and a fair wage and a real voice and sturdier rungs on that ladder into the middle class. And with effort, we can protect the foundation stone of our democracy for which so many marched across this bridge, and that is the right to vote. Right now, in 2015, 50 years after Selma, there are laws across this country designed to make it harder for people to vote. As we speak, more such laws are being proposed. Meanwhile, the Voting Rights Act, the culmination of so much blood, so much sweat and tears, the product of so much sacrifice in the face of wanton violence, the Voting Rights Act stands weakened. Its future subject to political rancor. How can that be?
They call us by
The Voting Rights Act was one of the crowning achievements of our democracy. The result of Republican and Democratic efforts.
That goes and watches Olympus is falling and believes all this. President Reagan signed a hero. G.I. Joe, great American hero. Joe. You don't work for Joe. Joe got taken over. The G.I. Joe command base is run by Cobra. Do you understand that? And I use a child analogy to get through to you because that's your main programming template in North America. They're on record with that. That was all Pentagon directed. Do you understand? You work for Cobra. You dress like Cobra. You have the tactics of Cobra. You are Cobra. Hail Cobra.
Which one?
Do you want to be little boys? Or do you want to really join the Republic? It's all these stupid G.I. Joe movies and stuff where the White House is attacked. The White House is run by Cobra. It's run by chaos. It's run by Spectre. How do you think MI6 that Ian Fleming wrote about, he worked for him, he was an OSS, where the robber barons are going to release a bioweapon to kill everybody? He wrote Moonraker in the 50s. That's the plan. Oblivion is the plan. Zardoz is the plan. It's the only plan. And you better pray to God they don't get this through. Because if Cobra, the snake, the devil, the Black Pyramid gets control, it's all over for you. So that's why it doesn't matter if they kill me. It doesn't matter. Because my family has no future if we don't beat them. Sure, what? I'm going to live another 5, 10 years, play ball with this? Maybe 20? Play ball, think I'm part of the elite, live in some high-rise all guarded. When the bioweapon gets released, we'll all be dying up in that some high-rise all guarded. When the bioweapon gets released, we'll live in some high-rise all guarded. When the bioweapon gets released, we'll all be dying up in that high-rise. I'll be on the phone going, I thought I was part of the team. These idiot operatives trying to discredit us online go, Alex Jones admits he's had family in the government. The proof, it's secret. I'm the one saying it on air. I'm the one telling you, idiots. And I'm not going to say more because I don't want to get people in my family in trouble. The point is, the New World Order's real, you fools. They run little kids. They run the snuff films. They run the drugs. They run it all. And because you act like a bunch of naive chumps, this whole thing's going to come down on us. To every police officer in this country, to every FBI agent, to every Secret Service agent, you work for Spectre. You work for chaos. You work for Cobra. How do they get power? They stage a terror attack. Using Spectre, using Cobra. Who is Cobra? Arms dealing, drug dealing, money laundering group wearing masks. They wear masks, ladies and gentlemen, because they're the corporate CEOs. And they're manipulating the governments against each other. Cobra runs the Muslims. Cobra runs the CIA. Cobra runs it all. Cobra is real. Haven't you people figured any of this out yet? Then you'll have a heyday with that. You can call it whatever you want. Cobra is in control of America, and Cobra says the veterans and the gun owners and the conservatives and the people that say there's a foreign New World Order banking takeover happening, they're saying that we're the bad guys. That's what Cobra would say. That's what Spectre would. And Cobra says the veterans and the gun owners and the conservatives and the people that say there's a... And Cobra says... And Cobra says... And Cobra says... And Cobra says the veteran America. And Cobra says the control of America. And Cobra says... And Cobra says the... And Cobra says the veterans and the gun owners and the conservatives and the people that say there's a foreign New World Order banking takeover happening in control of America. And Cobra says the veterans and the gun owners and the conservatives and the people that say there's a foreign New World Order banking takeover happening, they're saying that we're the bad guys. That's what Cobra would say. That's what Spectre would say. That's what Goldfinger would say, because that's who those people are. James Bond
our kids to know a better life. That's how we came to be. We're the slaves who built the White House and the economy of the South. We're the ranch hands and cowboys who opened up the West. The countless laborers who laid rail and raised skyscrapers and organized for workers' rights. We're the fresh-faced GIs who fought to liberate a continent. And we're the Tuskegee